are transitioning to Zapier. Angela Ferrante heads up enterprise marketing, and she'll be taking us through Strategic Signal Squad. Super excited. Angela, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you so much. I'm good. How are you doing?
Excited for this. Getting a lot of feedback from the community. So, yeah, let's dive into it.
Let's jump on in. So I am going to walk you through some of the no fluff, real examples of agents that we use at Zapier. I'll start by going through a little bit of like framework on how we think about agents, the spectrum of automation, deterministic automation through agents, a couple of different frameworks for thinking about things, and then just dive right in. And I'm going to do something really risky, which is to like live build and demo the thing, being the agents, and see how that goes. So you're going to have to bear with me if technology gives us problems, but no better way to show what we're doing with our own agents than to actually show you them. So I'm going to do that today. So let me jump on in. I can share my screen. So the agent, spoiler alert, the agents that we're gonna walk through are actually a team of three agents, and we're calling them the Strategic Signal Squad, basically like a PMM team that helps us do things around positioning and competitive messaging. So I'll get into that in a little bit. First of all, just hello. I am Angela. I lead enterprise marketing at Zapier. I was previously a founder at a company called Laudable. We went through an acquisition, and I am now Zapier. I was a super fan and user of the product prior. Before that, I was all in on marketing. Originally from the Boston area. I hopefully don't have a leftover accent, but you'll have to correct me if you are hearing one. And fun fact, I met a grizzly bear about 20 feet away from me in face to face in Wyoming a few weeks ago. I don't know if it's a fun or scary fact, but there we go. So we are all hearing a ton about agents, right? There's a ton of noise, complete with even Twitter trolls going around and commenting on things that aren't true agents, right? Like, this isn't a real agent. There is a lot that we're all hearing in a lot of different platforms and tools. So I am here to help de-hype this. A couple things. One is that what I'll walk through today is something that can hopefully show you a way to build an agent today that actually works for you. It's not like, oh, cool, this is one pie in the sky that might be interesting one day, something that works practically today. You also don't need to be an engineer. Just clarifying this, like you don't even need to have any advanced no code skills. I'm going to use Zapier Agents, our agents product, to walk you through this, but there are, of course, a range of tools you can use. Really quickly, Zapier agents are leverage the power of Zapier's 8,000 plus integrations of app integrations to let you take actions, automate steps, do work on the web, query your data sources, a whole bunch of cool stuff we'll talk through. Over 55,000 actions you can take with over 8,000 work apps. So really broad coverage in terms of putting these agents to work in the tools that you want. We have a bunch of templates. There's templates from Claire Vaux. There's templates from CatGPT if you follow either of those folks. So you can head on over there if those are interesting. And really quick before we dive in, I want to talk about this idea of the AI automation spectrum. This is a framework that has been helping us convey to customers who are eager to get into agent land. Like, what is the difference between a workflow and an agent? What are we really talking about? So we show in this slide, we're showing on the left, you have a more traditional workflow, right? It's entirely predetermined steps that follow a very predictable path. If you use Zapier, one thing you may have noticed is that you can now add AI steps inside of a workflow. So you can manage a predetermined or pre-prescribed path, but start adding in different AI steps. And then we get into this agentic workflow where there are more AI steps that are compounding and chained together, querying knowledge, writing messages, etc. And then on the right, we have like a true agent, right? Where we're combining, it's fully AI. We're combining natural language instructions, knowledge, tools to autonomously complete tasks. that are more complex, and that the agent is using its discretion and reasoning power to complete and get to a pre-prescribed goal. So I think the thing that I found really interesting is that there's a different role, or there's different type of tool for each job. Sometimes you may want something to follow a preset path and be really prescriptive, and sometimes you just want it to figure out how the heck to get to an outcome. Most organizations that we see need solutions across this entire spectrum. One other fun diagram here is, so at Zapier, we published about a month ago that we're at 89% daily AI adoption across our team. I think we're now something like 96, or inching towards 100. We actually have more active agents than we do employees at this point. And one way that we like to think about this is with the in an org chart. So this is a small sampling from our go-to-market org, where we think about different phases of go-to-market: engage, sell, deploy, manage, etc. And these are some of the use cases that we think about within these categories. We are starting to publish more of these org charts and templates supporting them. So we launched Zapier for HR, where we have a ton of cool AI use cases within the HR function, recruiting, onboarding, etc. And we're starting to build up to marketing as well. I'm doing an AMA session. I'll talk about that in a little bit for anyone who wants more on how we think about this and AI fluency across the org. One last thing I want to call out on this is that we believe that the people closest to the problems are best able to solve them. And agents are a really great way to enable go-to-market folks on each of your teams to actually build solutions for their problems, versus having to use out-of-the-box solutions, or solutions created by folks who aren't actually in touch with their tech stack, their work streams, their processes, and so forth. Okay, so let's get into it. We are going to focus, or I'm going to walk through this strategic signal squad, this team of AI agents that helps with PMM tasks. And setting the stage here, so at Zapier, we have about 12 product marketers across a couple different functions. And we are moving, like many of you, moving up market, which means that our PMM bandwidth, and research bandwidth in particular, is pretty limited. At the same time, the landscape, as we all know, of AI tools, what possibilities there are, is moving really, really fast. So we're also launching, along with that, we're launching products really quickly. And so our bandwidth is pretty limited. These are some of the agents that help us move faster, classic do more with less. And you can't see these screenshots, but don't worry, I'll go into an actual screen share on these shortly. So the agents we're going to walk through, there's 3 of them with a bonus. So the first one is a company insight extractor. And the idea is that you may want to run this on your own company to just get a rundown of what's the public facing view of how we're coming across our positioning, our ICP, our value prop, our differentiators. Or you might want to run this on a competitor. There's a bunch of different ways you might use this. Also, a prospect or a customer, if you're looking for a quick brief before a call to understand their business better. The second one is all about competitive. So we have a single shot, sort of robust competitor messaging differentiator, that's a mouthful, that you can run one time to run a detailed report. I'll show you what that can look like, of competitive messaging versus your own. And then I really like this one. This is the one I'll do more of a deep dive on, is the weekly competitive update investigator. The idea is that this will go parse all of the competitive intel that is coming out, or all the intel about your competitors, press releases, news, product launches every week, and give you sort of the so what should we do about this, right? Maybe they identify some white space in the market, or they identify an area that is encroaching upon your ICP and positioning that the competitor launched. The last agent in this squad is our product launch messaging and positioning writer. Again, I mentioned we're doing a lot more launches and starting to enable AI to give us drafts of more of the PMM launch work. So things like messaging, value prop positioning, new products or features. You could add an email copy, social media launch copy, and so forth. Let me pause. Any questions, Julia? Anything you want me to dive deeper on before we jump on in?
Let's jump on in and yeah, we'll address it in the end.
Great, let's do it. I'm going to show you one by one each of these and sample outputs, and then I will do a deep dive on this Agent 2 bonus. So company insights extractor. Here is that agent. I will share all of the template links. They are also in the slide. So if you want to create your own version, you can actually just go click, use this template, do a few quick configures and use it. So this is the agent's product inside of Zapier. We're basically giving it some instructions about who it is, similar to a prompt, but it has more access. It has access to different tools and it can take more actions all in one versus a single back and forth prompt. So you're basically asking it to ask you as the user questions around the homepage that you can enter in different information. It may go back and forth with you and ask you for more intel. And then here is an example. So we ran this on a competitor and it actually will generate a Google Doc. You could have it share with different teams. You could have it ping in Slack. But the Google Doc output shares a range of product and positioning, key features, customer and community notes, the various value props, and differentiators. So that's this first agent. The second agent, let's get into the competitive messaging differentiator. So this one is, again, we're gonna give this agent a role and tell it what its goal is and what the output is. As you can see, there's a lot more complexity in here than a traditional prompt, and it is taking multiple steps on its own with access to multiple tools. So I won't go through every single one of these, but there's a whole bunch of steps where it's going to ask you as the user to copy paste different things from your competitor, share more about your own problem and solution. It'll do a teardown. It'll identify white space, and you can run this on demand at any time for any competitor. And here's what the output looks like. So again, we ran this against some of our common competitors out there. And it will even create, it'll even create these matrices or sort of comparison charts to show you functionality for the various different products and how they compare. And then it's going to show you any areas and gaps in app positioning, messaging, or product offerings. So pretty robust. And all of this you can customize. So perhaps you want to add a step 9 that you want to have it look at the future state of product features and assess what that might look like. You can add this in here. A variant on this competitor messaging differentiator is maybe you want a weekly update. Right? Let's say you want to keep your eye on these competitors and get any relevant news, launches, updates in the market that might make you change your competitive battle cards, your positioning, or your messaging more generally. This is a template that for an agent that will do that and will actually send the Slack message to your team every single week. So you can schedule it when you want. This one also uses Perplexity. I don't know if many of you are using Perplexity, but we're starting to see it gain steam against Google, ChatGPT, great for research tasks. So this is a template where you can drop in your company, and every week it's going to start with a Perplexity completion or search that is going to look for updates across all of your various competitors. We then put this analysis framework which is the way that we want at Zapier, that we want this agent to think about the various components of competitive comparison. So we looked at direct feature comparisons, potential for market disruption. Where is it infringing on our category, right? What advantages might they be developing? And then any market gaps or competitor or customer pain points. We're also saying, hey, are there actual partnership or integration opportunities? Sometimes you have the co-opetition type folks out there that are sort of competitors, sort of partners. And then strategic implications, right? We all want to know what's the so what. What should we actually change about our own messaging? What do we do with these new updates? And then we have it send a Slack message every single week that will lay some of these things out and give us some suggested action items. So a lot of detail in here. A couple things I want to show you. First, I want to show you what it looks like to actually use this template and build your own agent. And then I'll show you what the outputs for this one can look like. So if you click just use this template, in this case, it uses Perplexity and Slack. So you just would connect your own Perplexity API key plus your Slack account in here. And you'd click create, and voila, here is your agent. So any of this you can customize. You would complete this with, enter your company. Let's pretend we're OpenAI. You would fill this out. You can also adjust the analysis framework for your own market if you care about different things, if you want it to do different things, and then you can select your Slack channel. This is where you're giving the agent different tools. So all of our 8,000 different apps, you can add the capability for it to do different things. Maybe you want to have it create a Google Sheet for you, or add a row to a particular Google Sheet. Maybe you want an Asana, ClickUp, or Monday.com task added and assigning it to a specific person. You could even route to a particular person depending on the nature of the task and the topic. A whole bunch of things. Again, I of course will not go through all thousands of them, but many different tools and capabilities you can give your agent here. From there, you get to go start testing it. So just so we don't have to wait, I populated this one that fully assumes we're running this for OpenAI, comparing against Anthropic, Google, Meta, and DeepSeek. Obviously, lots of launches, lots of things happening in that space every single week. And here is I ran a quick test on it. First, it pulled from Perplexity, and then it ran all of this other analysis and would send it in a Slack message. And here's what this output looks like. So it's giving a quick summary telling us Anthropic won a legal battle regarding AI training on copyrighted materials. Some of you may have seen that. Talking about the positioning of DeepSeek's latest updates, lack of updates from Gemini, and then Meta winning a copyright lawsuit. So that's like the quick executive view as a leader that you may want to understand. And then we break this down, or it breaks it down by each competitor. So it's talking about what happened with Gemini. It's also going to give a threat level of the updates per week, right? To sort of tell you how severe, what you should keep your eye on, as well as the particular opportunity in place. And of course, it will cite its sources. So it'll go through all of these and then give you these strategic takeaways. So we've got immediate action required. Let's take a look at this DeepSeek and Anthropic updates. Both could impact our competitive positioning and data strategy. It's also giving us recommended actions. Maybe we need to do some more benchmarking against DeepSeek. An example I've seen before come out of this is update the battle card. You could even add the battle card as if you have that in like Clue or Crayon, or even in just a Google Doc, you could add that as a tool inside of your agent, and it could directly interact with those battle cards, or pull from the battle card data to suggest, hey, you should add a bullet point on this particular team. So you can be proactive before sales comes running, asking for additional battle cards based on the latest news. You're already ahead of the curve. And then it just shows a little bit about what it's going to do in the following week. And it gives you this of the disclaimer, but a little bit of a caveat that this is an agent calculated report, or an agent generated report. So this is the agent. You can configure this to do any time you want, any frequency you want. I like weekly or monthly for these competitive agents. So that is that one. I know I went through these really quick. Again, you can steal all of the templates on this slide here. The third one, I'll just zoom through this last one. We've got the product launch messaging and positioning writer. So we are aiming at Zapier's PMM teams to get first drafts. I like to call them shitty first drafts, not because they're shitty, but they give us the power and sort of like just ability to let go of the stress around the blank page problem and get something drafted really fast. We use this one on our new product and feature launches particularly from tier 2, 3, and 4 launches on PMM. And here is how, let me pull this one up. Let's see. Cool. So it will, this is one that we can run on demand and that you can interact with. So we have a whole bunch of steps here that it'll tell us that it will ask us for information when we interact with it. And we can also feed it more information on our brand guidelines, on our messaging house, our standards, our positioning, our ICP. You can really give it or direct it to all of the information that maybe updates regularly that's really critical and foundational to developing messaging content and updates. So the final output on this one is that you're going to get a point of view and messaging framework ready for executive review that will be for a particular product or feature. Here is, we ran this just prior, we ran this for our agents product. So a little meta, but this is the product that I've been going through. We're working on a new launch for agents later this summer with a bunch of new features. And we had it write a point of view draft on our messaging. You can see it lays it out in terms of the challenge, the consequence, the future state, and target benefits. You might have a different framework that you want this to follow. Like say you have your tier 2 launches follow a very particular structured framework, and you even want to draft an email copy for customer launch announcement. You can incorporate all of that into this step and or add a step to make it really custom. So that's it for the agents. Again, I know I went through these super quickly. They're all very customizable. They're all stealable. You can get one of these working, and I will issue this challenge to all of you in under 10 minutes and have something live that's working for you. So really simple to set up with the power to add a whole lot of customization. I will open up to questions if we have any. Before I do that, I mentioned earlier this AI fluency model that we're thinking about at Zapier. So our HR team published the framework for how we think about AI fluency across the org and upskilling folks to be AI native, AI first in how they think and create solutions for their work, day-to-day work. We have one on marketing. This is just a teaser of the framework that we think about things from unacceptable, capable, adoptive to transformative. These are some of the high level, but we have a lot more on impact behaviors across specific marketing functions, demand gen, growth, PMM, to make it really concrete for folks on our almost 70-person marketing team. What is the behaviors and the skills that they should be aiming for when it comes to AI. We are going to host an AMA on this. We'll have a special guest not yet announced, but we're doing an AMA on our AI fluency, giving away our template for the AI fluency model so that we can help you, if you'd like, workshop your own. And that is on Thursday, July 17th. This QR code should take you to a Luma event if you want to attend. Would love to have any of you. And that's all I've got. Questions?
Super insightful. Thank you so much, Angela. And to address like the question we actually address in every session today, and we chatted about it a little bit behind the scenes, but what would be your advice for all executives watching, GTM leaders, in terms of transitioning to agentic scaling, this new operating system? And given the fact that you mentioned over 96% AI adoption, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. I mean, so we actually open sourced our own playbook for AI adoption at Zapier. There's a link. I can always link to folks link folks to that. There's a link in our on our website. It talks about the how we hit that 89%, and we broke it down into a couple different frameworks. Includes the spectrum of like what are the categories to be thinking about, covering tech stack, governance, use cases, and culture. Those are really the big components that we think about. And within that, we open sourced even like our original slide deck when our CEO Wade called a code red around AI a year and a half to almost 2 years ago now, and made this an org wide priority. What I've seen work really well is one, just naming that urgency and priority so that everyone across the org knows that it's top impactful priority for everyone to be working on, and then providing the space and time. Like I think Wade says, if you do just one thing, it's run hackathons, and giving people that space outside of their day-to-day work to be able to experiment with different products. There's a lot of tools out there, and that can get is exciting, but can get overwhelming. So you just need some space to first be bad at things to get over that hump. And then the other thing I'll go back to that I said this earlier is I really think everyone is a subject matter expert in their own work function and their own workload, and as such they are best suited to solve the problems, right? Like they're closest to it, they know how to do it, but historically that's been really hard to do if you're not also an engineer. So that's where I think playing with workflows with AI steps and agents, full agentic steps and tools is a really good, like they just need the time to experiment and be close to the work and dive on in.
Next question here. What's one place you tried to automate signal tracking and it didn't work? What did you learn from that?
I think you're only going to get and interpret so much from what competitors are publishing. I mean, surprisingly, depending on your particular space and competitors, you can get a lot of information. I think an area that is a sort of hidden gem for competitive intel is job descriptions, right? Like a JD that a company is putting out oftentimes has a lot about their strategy and so we didn't have that in this particular agent, but I think adding that in would be a wise step. In terms of something that didn't work, I don't think you can have this yet make all of the updates in your battle cards for you, right? There's like, if you think about the steps, it's gathering the intel. AI can definitely do that. It's making recommendations and drafting things. AI can definitely do that. And then it's actually going through and having the discretion and to make the updates. I don't think that AI, without a human in the loop at this stage, is equipped to do that. So I think some of the trial and error we've seen there, where we've like pushed the boundaries and figured out what is and what isn't viable for AI to accomplish.
Another question here. We track competitors manually now. How did you decide what signals were worth automating first?
Will you say the first part again? We track, what was that?
Competitors manually.
Yeah. And then what the second part of the question?
Yeah, and the second is how did you decide what signals were worth automating in the first place?
Oh, I mean, I think it starts with, the fact that you're doing it manually is the perfect start, right? It's start with what you are already doing, what the human would do. That's a really great blueprint for looking at what can you automate. So for example, if a human is tracking competitors manually and they're going in once a week or once a month, depending if you have an FTE or just partially dedicated team, if they're looking at press releases, website changes, and job descriptions, for example, great. That's your template for what you can give an agent or a workflow to automate this work and have AI do it for you. So I would really start there. And then, such a dumb tip, but ask AI, right? In just a standard chat GPT or Claude, or whatever you use, give it what you're already doing, give it your manual process and say, how can I make this better? Given this, we're really missing, we really want to know more about their employee sentiment or something, whatever it may be. And maybe it suggests that you start tracking steps in LinkedIn or employee posts on LinkedIn or the team size that LinkedIn shows on the company pages. So it may give you more ideas for things that you feel like you have gaps in terms of your competitive intel.
Thank you so much, Angela. Again, everyone follow Angela on LinkedIn, I'm assuming, and do attend Zapier's next event. And
Yeah, yeah. Please join me or connect with me on LinkedIn. And then if you'd like to join our AMA on AI fluency, you can either send me a message or go to the QR code.